Hi everybody. Let me see almost 10 minutes. I will wait for just one more minute. Later will join.
Sure.
Yeah, good evening. How are things going there? The school and all started? Like online classes, one chapter completed, I heard, like last time when I asked this question. Right? It's, some basic concepts of chemistry was over. Has it started the second chapter? Atomic structure is what it is?
Yeah, sir. We have started
Atomic structure.
that. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So we'll also complete.
So
We'll
they've
take
completed third chapter also, sir.
third chapter in the sense periodic table
Yeah.
or what? Periodic.
Yes,
Periodic.
sir.
Okay. Yeah, we will take our little own pace. You must understand what pace we are doing, making sure that like it's not that like it's more about application, like number of moles. We know it's the formula, molarity. We know it's the formula, but in this chapter that is not the only thing that's important. Like say you have to do a lot of problems, and the question also will be like say if at all the questions are going to come from this chapter, it will be only like say numericals which will come. So that's why you have to apply, even though you know the formula, but you actually know it. Like you might have personally experienced it, even though you know the formula, but sometimes like, getting the answer is little tricky, right? So, anyways, like that comes with practice, right? So we'll take our own time, and then maybe we will take another maybe 2 to 3 classes, including this, right, for completing this chapter, and then maybe we'll start with atomic structure. Anyway, so we'll anyways catch up with. Sorry, sir, I had some network issue. Yeah, no issues. Sai Raghav. We are just talking like normal stuff. When will we start the next chapter and stuff? Anyways, so like I'll take another 2 3 classes, right, and then we'll start the atomic structure. But we'll catch up. We'll catch up with the school somehow, right? We'll make sure that the quality is also not compromised, but same way the portions are also completed at the right time. Right? We'll take care of both of things. You don't have to worry. Okay, cool. I think we can start. We have enough people. Share my screen. Today, I think third, 11th, third. I mean, I would say 307. Fine. Fine. So we'll just have a quick recap of whatever we have been seeing, right? So last class at the end, maybe I'll show you the things. That will be easy to explain, maybe. So it was 19 or no, it was 11, 20th. Yeah, 20. Today is third. It should be 26. Yes, this one. Oh, 26. So we saw only this one. No, right? We actually saw 27th or 21. Yes. Okay. Right. So at the maybe we'll see. We'll start what we did. Yeah. So we started with this problem of this. If you can remember, anhydrous and the hydrous salt. Right? How do we calculate the empirical formula of them if they give you the mass percentage of all the elements present? We already explained what is the concept behind this, and this is just a continuation of the previous class to the previous class. Right. Anyways, so this is how we did the problem. Hope you all remember. Mass percentages are converted into mass directly, and then all you have to find the number of moles for all the elements, and then you'll get a number and choose the smallest number, and then divide the entire number of moles with that particular number. You'll get the ratio, and that will be the formula. And that the ratio will be with respect to that formula. Anyways, and then moved on. Okay, and then this is about this again the hydrolysis, the H2O part, not H2O part, right? And then this we mentioned last class. Why is it that the atomic masses of certain elements are fractions, like say 35.5, 68.3. Like why do we have this decimal, like say fractional numbers, basically decimal numbers? Basically, we know that mass numbers are generally full, like integer values, in the sense that there'll be 1, 2, 3, because it is just going to talk about what is the number of protons plus number of neutrons. We know, right? Atomic mass number, mass number would be number of protons plus number of neutrons. So it will be a whole number, obviously. But atomic mass will be, you would have seen for chlorine, for example, it will be 35.5, right? So how do we calculate it? This is the formula, right? So it's because it's going to be based on isotopes. Because of the presence of isotopes, I'm going to have this fractional values coming, because each of them, isotopes are going to be elements having same atomic number 17, but different mass numbers 35 and 37. It is not exactly the average of these two. The atomic mass will not be the average of these two, because it is not exactly, you can see in the formula. How is it? It's the percentage abundance into the mass, that is 37, right? And say you have to put the value of say 70, it's 70%, 70 into 37, right? And then the second value, that is 30 into 35 divided by 100. Like by that, you'll get the atomic mass. Okay, fine. So then we moved on to stoichiometry. So for that, we had to actually see this law of conservation of mass, law of definite proportions. We saw what are these. The elements will combine only in molar, like specific ratios of either mass or moles or volume, right? Either way, right? Fine. So then we moved on to this important concept, right? Stoichiometry. How do we exactly do it? So I told you that, say in a reaction, right? There is a reaction like this, right? Now, first thing you need to understand is that you need to have a balanced chemical reaction. Only then you can proceed to stoichiometry, right? So then we saw that what exactly we're going to do is that by having information about any one of the reactant or product, right? Say either if I have information about this or say H2 or O2, I will be able to find the information. The information in the sense I'm talking about the amount, say the number of moles or volume or mass, whatever it is, the amount. We'll be able to find the information about the other two things or all the other reactants and products in that particular chemical reaction, right? So now that is again going to come in these ratios, the stoichiometric coefficients, the point which I stressed before, that is you need to have a balanced chemical equation. Why you need to have a balanced chemical equation is because these numbers, when you balance, are going to be very, very important, right? This 2, 2, 1, all these are very, very important, because in this ratio, in this molar ratios, I can say, see, this ratios which we talk can either be moles or it can be volume, right? Now this ratio is basically this numbers I'm telling, that is the stoichiometric coefficients, right? The stoichiometric coefficient will directly give you either the mole ratio or the volume ratio. Okay, so that means for example, if you take this, if they have 2 moles of H2O present, right, there'll be 2 moles of H2 formed and there'll be 1 mole of O2 formed. That is how it is, right? So the ratio is always going to be 2:2:1. Right. So accordingly, now this this particular data which I wrote here, you will directly get it from the balanced chemical equation, right? But you have to look for the other stuff. What other things are given in the question? Say in this question, I gave you that there is 0.5 moles of H2O. How many moles of H2? How many moles of O2 will be formed? You just have to put it in the ratios accordingly, or you can use the cross multiplication method, which I taught you already, right? Say 2 moles of H2O will give 2 moles of H2. I think 2 moles of H2. So 0.5 moles will give how much? You can cross multiply, right? Same way you can do for O2 and find it, right? So again, the same kind of example we saw for this N2 plus H2 giving 2 NH3, they gave the 6 moles. So how much it will be? First, you have to get a balanced equation, do the cross multiplication along with the ratios. Again, you can see the first statement, it will directly come from the balanced chemical equation. You can connect either this and this, or you can connect this and this, or you can connect this and this. Right? You can have all the combinations depending on what is the requirement. You should not be comparing anything and everything. Depending on what is asked in the question, right? Accordingly, and you have to choose wisely depending on what data is given also, right? For example, the data is given for H2. There is no point comparing N2 and NH3. Hope you understand. We will be comparing N2 and H2 and H2 and NH3 if the data for H2 is given. I'm telling you again. Right. So you can see this example itself. They have given the the information only about H2. So we would have compared, you can see N2 and H2, right? Or H2 and NH3. we don't compare N2 and NH3 because that is not required for us. Why do we compare? It's again waste of time. You have to be very smart in choosing this, which two to compare. But at a time, you can only compare two. That you have to remember, right? Okay, fine. And then again, I told you volume or moles can be the case. Now, next thing what you have to understand is whatever be the data given to you, either it's mass or volume you don't have to do it. But if you're interested even for volume or mass or number of particles or molarity, whatever be the data which is given to you, data in the sense they'll be giving you information about any one of them, right? So whatever be the data in its form, the first step would be to convert it into number of moles, right? Because we know that the stoichiometric coefficients are going to talk about the molar ratios, right? So here, see, though, they have given you 50 grams of CaCO3. How many grams of CaO, how many grams of CO2 will be formed was the question, right? So, excuse me. So the first step was converting this 50 grams of CaCO3 into moles. So, you know, the formula, 0.5 moles came. So now look at the ratios, 1:1:1. That means if I have 1 mole of this, I'll get 1 mole of this and 1 mole of this. That means if I have 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. That's what we got. Now the question was in terms of mass. I mean, the answer we require in terms of mass. So again, using the formula, give a number of moles equal to given mass by molecular mass, you'll be able to calculate the mass, given mass of CaO and the mass of CO. Right. Okay. Fine. Now, I think the last 10-15 minutes we spoke about this. Like we'll speak about this in detail again in this class. That's about the concept of limiting and excess reagents, right? Okay. So fine. Now, when you have to look into this, can someone tell me? Like say, not for every question, I have to check which is the limiting and which is the excess reagent. For which kind of questions you will actually see this? I mean, you'll check whether something is limiting or excess. When will you do that? Anybody can tell?
Sir, if the given is more than the required.
No, like in the sense that just by looking at the question, you can tell, okay, I don't have to check for like limiting or excess reagent. But sometimes you look at the question and realize that just looking at the question, you'll realize that, yeah, okay, you have to find first, which is the limiting and the excess reagent. How will you find that out? Looking what in the question you'll
multiples.
Decide. Multiples means?
Sir, in this case, you can see right? 3 moles.
What is that? Okay, I'll make the question very little more simpler. Between this particular question, this N2 plus H2, and this particular question, or say the previous questions, what was different? In the question, what was different?
Given is there are two elements they give moles.
Basically, the information is given for more than one reactant. That's the exact way to put it if you're trying to do that, right? So there are 2 reactants here, or whatever be the number of reactants, right? If only one information is given, only one reactant information is given, you don't have to worry about it. Definitely, there is no concept of limiting or excess because only that is there. Then how do you compare with something and saying that, okay, this is excess or this is limiting? No, we cannot say that. But if in a reaction, they give you reaction, be it how many ever reactants you have, but if they give you more than one information in the sense that, say, they give information for N2 as well as H2, then you have to check which is the limiting and the excess reagent. And based on what is the limiting reagent, only you speak about the product. You have to compare only the limiting reagent and the product. The excess reagent and product should not be compared, right? Okay, fine. How do you do it? This is such a very quickly we see how did we do this, right? Say I gave you that there are 2 moles of N2 and 3 moles of H2. What is the number of moles of NH3 formed is the question, right? Fine. Now you see for starting purposes, you can compare this with this and as well as this with this, in the sense that depending on what your data you're going to use, either you're going to use this data or you're going to use this data. You can use both the times, no problem, till you become more practiced. Okay, fine. Say now we'll compare, say, now we're looking at the balanced equation itself. We can write 1 mole of N2 requires 3 moles of H2, 1 and 3 you can see, right? Then it should be now in the data, it's given that there are 2 moles of N2. So let me put it for that, how many moles will be required? Like we calculated this, right? I require 6 moles of H2. But you look at the question, right? You look at the question, you find only 3 moles. It is less than what is the requirement. If I had 2 moles, I should have had 6 moles of H2, but I have only 3 moles of H2, right? This becomes a limiting reagent because it is not exactly the required amount. And like say you can do the opposite again to find the limiting reagent. You can do it again. Say 1 mole of N2 requires 3 moles of H2. So if I had 3 mole of H2, so again the question I think it's given that, yeah, 3 moles of H2, I require, did I do something? What happened? 3 moles, I require 6 moles, but I had only 3. Yeah, everything is right, right? If I have 3 moles, I require only 1 mole, so this becomes a limiting reagent. Nothing's problem. I'm using myself. I have 3 moles, so this should be the limiting reagent. But if I do 3 moles of H2 require 1 mole, no, it has 2 moles. Oh, fine. Yeah, oh, fine. It's correct. Okay, anyways. So if I had 1 mole of N2, I require 3 moles of H2. Fine. Now we put this data now. If I had 3 moles, I require only 1 mole, but you see how much is given. It's given that I have 2 moles of N2. That means it is more than what is required. Right? So this becomes the excess reagent because it's an excess, and this becomes a limiting reagent because it is less than what is required. Now the next step I told you, chuck about this excess reagent. You don't need this anymore. All you need is about the limiting reagent for you to find the number of moles of NH3 or the product in general, right? So based on this, you're getting to the stoichiometry. For 3 moles of H2, I get 2 moles of NH3, right? So for 3 moles, how much? I can do the cross multiplication. I can see 1 mole of N2 gives 3. 2 moles of, it's not the case. I think it's this next question. But anyways, you can easily see. You can easily calculate again by the cross multiplication method, right? Okay. Now again, in this question, we saw how it is, right? If they give 3 moles and 6 moles, so again, you can find which is the limiting and excess, right? I think we spend enough time on this, and rest all are some doubts we asked. So this is what we saw last class. Okay. So why I spend so much time on this is because this concept of limiting an excess reagent is very important, right? That's why. Okay, fine. We'll continue. Okay. So we'll start with just one more example for limiting the agent, or we'll do some couple of problems directly. So that will be fine, I guess. Okay, please take this question. If 0.5 moles of BaCl2, barium chloride, is mixed with 0.2 moles of Na3PO4, that is sodium phosphate. Right. Now the question is, find the number of moles of barium phosphate formed. If you're wondering about what is the formula for barium phosphate, please find it out.
So can you repeat the question once?
Yeah, sure. Right. Fine. So the question is, if 0.5 moles of BaCl2 is mixed with 0.2 moles of Na3PO4, find the number of moles of barium phosphate, which will be
Sir, is the formula Ba3PO4 twice?
Yeah, that's the formula, guys. If you're wondering how is it, it's remember that barium forms Ba2 plus. Now you know the periodic table. I think you'll understand that if the element comes in the same group, say it is beryllium, magnesium, calcium, barium, these are all comes in the same group, right? So whatever the first element ion it forms, say beryllium ion forms beryllium 2 plus, Mg will form Mg2 plus, Ca will form Ca2 plus, Ba will form Ba2 plus. This you can understand. This you will remember. Not remember. This is how the electronic configuration comes out to be. We will spend more time when we go to the chapter. Right. So anyways, now barium belongs to this family, so it forms Ba2 plus. So then phosphate ion, you must know it is PO4, 3 minus. Right. So again, in the upcoming chapters, right, you will see, you will understand why I have a 3 minus, why I have a 4, what is the structure of this particular ion. All these things we'll see in chemical bonding. A wonderful chapter. At that time we'll see. Okay. So anyways, now we know this you have learned in your lower classes, crisscross method, whatever be the charge or the valency, you will switch that to find it is Ba3PO4 plus. Okay. Anyways, so that's the question, right? Find the number of moles of Ba3PO4 twice formed. Go for it. So again, by looking at the question itself, there are two reactants, and both the reactants is information is given to you. So that means you have to find which is excess, which is limiting. Then only you can find out what the product. You can tell the answer if you're done, if you're done it.
Sir, is it 0.16?
0.16. Like that.
No, sir. Sorry, sir. It's wrong.
Easy question only. Not now, if you have understood what when I explained, you should be able to do this problem very easily.
Sir, 0.1 mole.
Okay, yeah, the options are there. It might be correct. Fine, I think I'll do it now. I think enough time. Right, so I have barium chloride reacting with sodium phosphate. Okay, so that is going to form barium phosphate plus sodium chloride. Okay, so first we'll try to balance. If I do that, yeah, so if I do it, so it will, I think here it will be 6, right? And then
Yes,
here
sir.
I'll put
2 Na3PO.
yeah, and here I'll put 2, right? That's it. Here should be 3. The number is 3 here. 3, 2, 1, and 6. Yes. Is it all right? Balanced equation. 3 of this, 3 of this, 6 of this, 6 of this, 6 of this, 6 of this, 2 of this, 2 of this. Yeah, cool. It's balanced. Right. Okay. So, anyways, now the information given is 2 informations are given. First one was 0.5 moles of BaCl2 and 0.2 moles of Na3PO4. Okay. Fine. So now the first step would be to find which is the limiting and the excess reagent. Again, we have to do the first step. So you can see what can I write here? Looking at these two numbers, 3 moles of BaCl2 requires 2 moles of Na3PO4. Right? Okay. Now, what is the data given? Say we'll use this data first. If we use this data for 0.5 moles, how much? Calculate. So that would be X, that is the number of moles of Na3PO4 required, would be
0.3, sir.
1 by 3. 1 by 3 I will give it as 1 by 3. Yeah, 0.333 it will be. Right. Now, how much I have? Look at this. I require only 0.13. Okay, but see how much I have. I have 0.2, which is more than what is required, right? So definitely this is the one which is excess, right? So if at all you're not satisfied, you can use this data again and find out what is exactly happening here. This should come here, this should come as a limiting reagent. Anyway, you'll check if you want, right? So if you check it, guys, right, I'll again do the same thing. So where should I? Maybe I'll do it up, right? Okay. So I have three more, same thing will come. 3 of BaCl2 requires 2 of Na3PO4. Na3PO4, right? So what now we are doing rate of Na3PO4, that is 0.2, right? So if I use that 0.2, now you put the side very properly. You shouldn't put 0.2 here. You should put 0.2 of Na3PO4. So for 0.2, you can see it is exactly going to be 0.4, right? But yeah, what happened?
Sir,
Sorry, 0.6.
value of x is
0.3, sir.
0.33 now, sir.
What happened?
Sir, the value of x we got as 1/3, right?
Yeah, 1/3, correct.
Sir, by dividing that, we will be
it's
getting
0.33.
0.33.
I'm sorry. It is not 0.13, it is 0.
Sir, so now it is the limiting reagent, right?
Yeah, this much is required, but yeah, this much only is there. Yeah, this becomes the limiting. Absolutely. This becomes the limiting agent. Hope you all understood, guys. Like say, for this 3 moles of BaCl2, I require 2 moles. So if I have 0.5 moles, if I do the calculation, I am requiring 0.33. But you can see the given amount is lesser than the requirement. So this becomes the limiting reagent. Okay, small mistake, right? So anyways, now if you do this for again, same statement of this 3 moles of BaCl to 2 moles of Na3PO4. For 0.2 moles, I should be having 0.4 moles. But look at the question. They have given me 0.5 moles. The requirement is only 0.4, but I have 0.5. Right? So this becomes the excess reagent. Okay. Now forget about the excess reagent. Concentrate only on this. Right? So again, you can write a statement for connecting this and this. 2 of Na3PO4 forms 1 mole of Ba3PO4 twice, right? Okay, now what is the thing? We know that I have 0.2 moles. I form 0.1 mole. 1 means 0.2. So the answer for this question is 0.1 moles. Sorry, of barium phosphate is formed. Okay, right? I hope everybody understood. If there's any problem, you can ask me again.
So can you scroll down a bit?
Yeah, sure. Enough?
Sir, here we are dividing 2 by 10, right?
Yeah, 2 by 10. 2 by 10 will be 0.2.
Then 3 by 10 is 0.4.
Okay, next is 0.3. Either way, yeah, it's lesser than 0.5. 2 by 10, 3 by 10, 3. Yes. Okay, we'll go to the next question. Okay, take down. 17 grams of ammonia or NH3. 17 grams of ammonia NH3 is mixed with same mass of hydrogen chloride HCl is mixed with same mass of HCl. Right? So find the mass of NH4Cl formed. The question is find the mass of NH4Cl formed. I'll repeat the question. 17 grams of NH3 is mixed with same mass of HCl. Then find the mass of NH4Cl formed. Right? So the difference between previous question and this question is, you can understand that here the data is given in terms of moles, there it is given in terms of mass, and the answer is also asked in terms of mass. Right? So you know what to do. The first step would be to convert the mass into moles and then do the exact same thing what we did for this problem.
Can you
Find the
repeat the
excess.
question?
Yeah, sure. 17 grams of NH3 is mixed with same mass of HCl, hydrogen chloride. Okay. The question is find the find the mass of NH4Cl formed. Okay, so the first step would be to balance the equation, then convert the given data in terms of number of moles, then find excess limiting, then number of moles of product. From number of moles of product, the end mass of the product. This is the overall step. Actually, do one more thing. Just go back to the question, guys. I will include some more things, so we do that also. Okay, so the question ended with find the mass of NH4Cl formed, right? Okay, include so find the number of moles of find the mass of NH4Cl and the excess reagent left remaining, or I can just like find the mass of excess reagent remaining. I have to find two things there basically. You have to find what is the mass of NH4Cl formed and the mass of excess reagent remaining. How much will remain after the reaction is over? That also have to find. Okay, two questions.
Sir, is the answer 10.7?
That is the mass of
10.7
H,
grams.
that is mass of NH4Cl formed.
Yes, and excess reagent is NH3.
Okay, fine. But what is it? 10.7 something. What is it? What is the answer for
Yes, sir, it's
NH4Cl?
approximate.
No. I don't have any answer like that. 10 point something. I don't have any answers. Because I hope everybody is trying. It shouldn't be these are easy problems that you should be able to crack. If you try, you will get better. Just sit simply, then yeah. I can easily make every one of you, switch on your cameras and make sure that you're doing, but I don't want to treat you like that. But you don't want to be treated like that. Yes, any answers? Anybody has? I think the calculations are also pretty easy.
Sir, 22.75 grams.
22.75 for NH4Cl.
Yes, sir.
That answer. Okay, fine. Maybe, or guys, you need some more time? Anybody? Or shall I give you the answer?
1 minute.
Okay, fine.
Sorry, sir, 26.75 grams.
No, that is also not good.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, I'm getting confused between limiting reagent and excess reagent.
Oh, we'll address that in this question. Fine. Anyways, so I think enough time is given. Maybe I'll write. So the reaction, if you're wondering what is the reaction, they have given everything in the question itself, NH3 is mixed with HCl to form NH4Cl. Very simple. So the reaction will go like this: NH3 plus HCl gives NH4Cl. Right? Very simple. Like I think the equation is already balanced, self-balanced equation. Okay, fine. Now we'll look at what is the data given to us. Data given is 17 grams of NH3, right, is reacting with the same amount of HCl, basically 17 grams. Okay, now what is the mass of this one formed? And you have to find first which is the excess reagent. And after finding it, obviously something will be excess, right? Even after the reaction got over, right? The excess reagent will become 0. Like whatever we take, for example, if HCl is the excess reagent, this 17 will become 0, right? But if say this is the excess reagent, and then this is definitely say we'll have 2-3 grams of NH3 left if that is the excess reagent. Anyways, we'll find out that first. Okay, fine. So fine. Now the first step would be to convert everything in terms of number of moles because mass is given, right? So now if I convert this down, number of moles, 17 divided by 17, because you can calculate the molecular mass of ammonia, 14 plus 3 will be 17, which will be 1 mole of NH3 is there. And then this would be 17 divided by 36.5 because
Sir, this can be approximate to 0.5.
No, that we cannot do.
Sir, I approximated to
0.5. No, you cannot do that. See, if you do it, it should be 34. You cannot approximate 34 to 36.5, right? This is too much.
Sir, then it's 0.46.
0.46. Okay, fine. I will keep it as such, 0.46. Okay, fine. Now we have converted everything into number of moles. Now you have to find which is the excess of the limiting reagent. Again, you have to write the statement. Now you can see the stoichiometric coefficient are 1, 1, 1. So things are pretty easy for us, right? Okay. So 1 mole of NH3 requires 1 mole of HCl. So if I had 1 mole, I should have 1 mole. But how much I have? I have only 0.46 for HCl, right? I have 1 mole of this thing. What is that? Ammonia. Right. For 1 mole of ammonia, I require 1 mole of HCl also. But look at how much is there. I have only 0.46. Lesser than 1. Right. So definitely HCl is the limiting reagent because it is lesser than what is the requirement. Requirement is 1 mole. But here you can see it's only 0.46 moles present according to the calculation. If I have 17 grams of this. Okay. So then obviously this should be the excess reagent because again you can see for 1 mole of this, I require 1 mole of this. So for 0.46, I require only 0.46 moles, but I have 1 mole present. Okay, that means out of this 1 mole, I require only 0.46 moles. That is what you understand. Okay, so the reaction will proceed. So this 17 gram will become 0. Now you will have some value for the excess reagent, and that value mass is what you're trying to find. And obviously this one. Okay, so again, I repeat what I did. I just found out that the say for 0.1 mole of this, I require 1 mole of this. So if I have 0.46 of this, I require only 0.46 of this, but they have given 1 mole. So this is the excess reagent. Now the thing is, out of this 1 mole, I require only 0.46 for this reaction to undergo completion. That is what you have to understand, right? So obviously, how many moles of this would be left out? Right after the reaction is over, can I say it is 1 minus 0.46, right? And that would be, I guess, 0.56 moles, right? So what do you understand is
5.4,
5.4, sir.
5.4, yeah, 5.4 moles, right? So even after the reaction is completed, right, there will be some amount of excess reagent. And how do you find it out? This is how you find it out. You see what is the excess, what is the limiting reagent. Accordingly, calculate what will be the amount of excess reagent required. That will definitely be lesser than what is the given amount if it is the excess reagent, right? Now, from the given amount, you minus what is exactly required, you will be getting the number of moles of the excess reagent left out after the reaction is completed. I hope everybody gets my point crystal clear, right? Okay. Now, anyways, now you can easily calculate the mass now, right? How do you calculate the mass? Now, this is the number of moles, right? Number of moles is equal to given mass, which we don't know, given mass of ammonia, divided by molecular mass of ammonia, which is 17, right? Say approximately also, if I do 17 into 0.5 will become how much?
9.18.
9 point?
No, sir, 8.5.
No. 8.5, correct. Yeah, if it is 0.56, 9.18. Someone said 9.18.
So then also it won't come 9.18, sir.
Okay, so if it is 0.5 also, it will be 8.8. Anyway, fine, 8.5. We'll keep it as 8.5. Right. So 8.5 grams of NH3 will be left out of the 17 grams. That's what you understand. Initially, I had 17 grams. Out of that, some grams, some amount that got reacted. Right. After that, I still have 8.5 grams of NH3 left out. And you can exactly see. I hope everybody understood how did I get this 8.5. First, you have to calculate the number of moles reacted. From that, you have to calculate how many moles is left out. And from that, you have to calculate the mass. Okay, right, fine. Now, you can do the same.
Sir, it's 0.54, sir.
0.54. Right, okay. So the next thing is finding out what is the mass of NH4Cl formed. Right, okay. Now, again, you can see the calculation is very simple. 1 mole of HCl gives 1 mole of NH4Cl. Right, again, why are we doing this? Because this is the limiting reagent, this is the excess, we don't consider about this. We're not anymore concerned about that. Okay, so 1 mole of HCl gives 1 mole of NH4Cl. If I had 0.46 moles, I should have 0.46 moles of NH4Cl. Right, so if you calculate now, if you have to find the mass, right, that is again given mass divided by the molecular mass. That would be given mass of NH4Cl divided by the molecular mass would be how much? Sorry,
53.5.
Okay, 50. Right. So even if I keep it as approximately 0.5, right, I should be getting 26.5, 26.5,
Yes, sir.
26.75 approximately. Right, 26 point. Is the answer matching with us? No. Oh, this is the answer you told me, and I said no, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, maybe if you keep 0.46, the value would be less.
Sir, if we keep 0.46, it's coming 24.6.
24.6 is there. Yes, 24.6. The option is there. Then that they would have calculated exactly for 0.46. Okay, so that we did nothing, guys. We just calculated the number of moles from this, how much would have been formed with the help of stoichiometry, and we converted the moles into mass using the formula given mass by molecular mass. Okay, and we easily calculated what will be the excess reagent left also after the reaction is completed. Right. I hope, can I get a yes from everybody? I hope this question is very important in terms of concepts. I hope everybody understands. Can I get a yes from everybody?
The mass of NH3 is how much grams, sir?
Sorry, amount of NH3 would be 8.5 grams approximately again. Okay,
sir. Sir, but if we multiply 0.54 into 17, the answer will be 9.18, sir. I got 9.1.
Okay, fine, no issues then. Then our exact answer should be 9.1. Yeah, I think it's proportional also. Yeah. Okay, fine. I hope everybody understood this question. Right, we'll do one. Now we'll just do maybe if you want one more question on excess and limiting reagent, guys. Anybody interested in one more question on excess and limiting, or you will go to the next concept? Little more, something else.
Sir,
okay, yeah.
Sir, in this question, the sum of mass of reactant should be equal to the sum of mass of products.
Correct.
So if it is 17 and 17, NH4Cl should be 34, right?
Correct, exactly. But that will be there if 17 and 17 both are the exact required amount. But it's not exactly the required amount, right? One thing is in excess, right? So if you want to get 26.5 and if you want to match with this, this 27.5 comes from how much is there? See, how do I put it? 1 minus point. Okay, fine. You can see that there is now 1 mole here. Okay, for 17 grams, it is 1 mole. But only 0.46 moles are reacting. Okay, only 0.46 moles are reacting. So how much is actually reacting? I mean, how much is actually left out? Left out we calculated to be 9.18, right? So you can you add this 26.75 with this 9, you will get approximately 34. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, sir. So then in every equation there will be something.
Correct. Law of conservation of mass still exists here. The total amount of reactant and the total amount of products is still same, right? What you have to understand is still one more thing is in excess, right? So you cannot say 17 plus 17. What you should say is out of that 17, some X will be there. So that X is only reacting. Okay. That X plus 17 will be 26.5. That is for sure. Do you understand now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, we'll do just one more question on excess reagent and limiting reagent. So that we'll get more next concept. One second. Question. Fine. If I don't find the question, I'll give my own question. Right. So let us take some reaction. I have, say, aluminium sulfate. AlSO4. What's it? Al2SO4. Aluminium sulfate reacts with, say, I'll have potassium nitrate. Okay. Now it is going to form aluminium nitrate plus potassium sulfate. Okay, right? Now this is the question given to you. This is the reaction given to you. Right? Say I'm just giving you some random numbers. Okay, I'm telling you that I have, yes.
Sir, isn't it AlNO3 thrice? Because
yeah, it should be AlNO3 thrice. Exactly. Yes. It's AlNO3 thrice. Okay. So now I have, say, I assume that I have, say, 100 grams of this, 200 grams of this. Okay. I want to know how many grams of this was formed and how many grams of this is formed. And if something is the excess reagent, how much amount of excess reagent is left up to. All these questions I need. Right. So basically I need mass of products, right? And also I need the mass of excess reagent left up. Two questions you have to answer. Guys, don't worry about the calculations. Just keep it as fractions only, right? I just gave some random numbers, right? But for finding limiting and excess reagent, you have to find what is the number of moles. So you have to calculate. There's no other way.
Sir, can we find excess and limiting reagent without finding number of moles?
Yeah, you can find actually. I'll tell you how. Like instead of using moles, you can directly use the stoichiometry in terms of mass itself. Yeah, you can do that. Okay, I think I do. I know the calculation is little difficult. Will be difficult for this because I gave you some random numbers. Okay, fine. So we'll convert now. We'll try to balance it because it is not balanced. If you're done directly, I don't know how many of you did. Like remember that you have to balance this first. It's not self-balanced. Okay, fine. So that's the case. This will become, I think, 6. This will become 3. And this will become, no, if this becomes 6, okay, and this becomes,
Sir, K2SO4 is 3.
Yes, sir. KNO3 is 6.
yeah, KNO3 is 6. Oh yeah, this is 3, correct. No, if this is 3, then see, sulfate ion, I have 9 sulfates ion.
Sir, first one, nothing, sir. It should be only Al2SO4.
Oh, so this should be only 2 then.
That should be 2. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Yeah, that's the balanced equation. Okay, right. So now that this we have, right? So I have now for your balance it. So now we'll convert the number of moles, right? This divided by the molecular mass, that would be, anybody calculated the molecular mass? Aluminum sulfate.
Sir,
Okay,
342.
Okay, 342. Okay, 342 grams divided by this much amount of KNO3. This divided by molecular mass of KNO3 is how much?
101.
101.
Okay, 101. Done. Now this number, anybody has both the numbers, the number of moles of these two and these two?
Sir, number of moles of aluminum sulfate is 0.3.
0.3, and this would be?
Sir, I approximated
0.29.
0.29 to 0.3.
0.3. Okay. And this would be KNO3.
And then KNO3 is 2. That also I approximated 1.9.
Yeah, understood. Okay, fine, approximately. Fine, maybe I can have it. Right, fine. So now we can do the stoichiometry and find out which is the excess and limiting reagent, right? So you can understand from the stoichiometry that 1 of Al2O3, sorry, not Al2O3, Al2SO4 thrice requires 6 of KNO3, right? So now you can use this data. If we use this data for 0.3, how much will give as X, right? If you cross multiply, it would be 0.18. MFM, yeah, 1.8, sorry, correct? 1.8 moles of KNO3 is required, right? 1.8 moles of KNO3 is required. So, but how much is given in the question? According to Jyotia, for 200 grams, we calculate there are 2 moles of KNO3, but the requirement is only 1.8. So, this would be the excess reagent, right? And we don't have to do the other stuff once you find this, but you should be very sure. You should be, if you do the one thing, first time you do correctly, again, you don't have to check, okay, if this is the excess reagent, if this is the limiting reagent or not, you don't have to check if you do this correctly. Because obviously, if this is the excess, this will be the limiting reagent. Okay, right? Fine. So now that we found out which is the limiting and which is excess, right? We can easily calculate what will be the mass of this and what is the mass of this form. Now I have, again, I will do the stoichiometry here, right? Say now if you do the stoichiometry, for 1 mole, I form 2 moles of this thing. So you can see here, for 1 mole of Al2, again, I'm talking only about this because this is the limiting reagent. I am not talking about this because it's the excess reagent. We don't speak about this. Okay, fine. So for 1 mole of Al2SO4 thrice, I form 2 moles of this. So can I say if I have 0.3 moles, I should have had 0.6 moles of aluminum nitrate formed. Again, you can easily calculate what will be the mass. 0.6 into the molecular mass of whatever the form for this thing is. You'll easily calculate what is the mass form. Same way, you can see for 1 mole of Al2SO4 thrice, I found how many moles? I found 3 moles of K2SO4, right? So for right here, for 1 mole, I get 3 moles. So for 0.3, how much? I'll be getting basically 0.9 moles. Am I right? Yeah. 0.9 moles of K2SO4 is found. Again, with the molecular mass, if you multiply, you'll be getting the mass of K2SO4. We don't need the numbers exactly. Okay. It's all about how do you find the limiting in excess. Fine. Now we found limiting in excess. We found out what is the mass according to what is the limiting reagent, right? The next question was what is the number of moles? What is the mass of excess reagent left out, right? So for that, first we need to find how much of it is reacting. Then only we can find how much is left out, right? So what I understand is, again we have to find what is the number of moles of KNO3 required. That we have to find first. Okay, now I think that we already did, right? Where we did? Somewhere we did, right?
Yes, sir. That's
Here
1.8, sir.
Yeah, this one, right? So we can already did this, right? So for, you can see, for 1 mole of Al2SO4 thrice, I require 6 moles of KNO3. See, it is written here. For 1 of this, I require 6 moles of this. So I know this is the limiting reagent, right? So if I have 0.3 moles, I require only 1.8 moles out of these 2 moles. Right, out of the 2 mole, I require only 1.8 moles. So how many moles will be left out? Basically, out of the 2 moles, 1.8 moles are required for this reaction to happen. Right? So how after the reaction has gotten over, I would have had 0.2 moles of KNO3 left out. Right? And that's it. Now I know the number of moles with the molecular mass of KNO3. If you multiply, you will be getting what is the mass of KNO3 left out. Very simple. Right? Exactly similar like the last question. Find the limiting reagent, find the products. After finding, like with the help of limiting reagent, find out how much amount of excess reagent is required. And from that excess amount required, you minus that one from the total amount. You'll be getting how much is left out after the reaction is getting over. And with that, you'll be able to find the mass also. Okay, I hope this concept is very clear for you. Like this kind of question, there are a lot of probabilities, a lot of possibilities that this kind of questions will come in your exams. Okay, right? Very like say the numbers are also not so much difficult. If we had time, we would have done it easily. Just calculations. Okay, right. So we'll move on. We'll move on to one little modification of whatever we have been studying. Okay, right. Fine, guys. So till now, what we did, like we actually, even though you didn't understand, we were actually assuming that all reactions are 100% completed. So what we're trying to say is, say if I have something like this, 2A plus 3B gives 4, say C, something like that. Okay, right? Say 2A plus 3B gives C is a reaction. Okay, now if I tell you that I have, assuming that I have only 2 moles, say I have 4 moles of this. Okay, I have 4 moles of A and I didn't give you information about the number of moles of B. Okay, fine. Now you'll do stoichiometry. What will you do? Like say, what will you understand is, say this 4 moles of A, say that this is at time t is equal to 0, the starting of the reaction. Okay, say after say 5 minutes, say this 4 will become 2, right? Say after some 10 minutes, this will become 1, and say after some time, eventually you will see that this is going to become 0. Okay, but right, eventually this is going to become 0. We say this, but you if at all you conduct a natural, like say a normal chemical reaction in a laboratories. Okay, you conduct any reaction in a laboratory, you will always see that this will never become 0, in the sense that if I whatever be the amount, if at all is exact to the requirement or not exact to the requirement, whatever be the amount of reactant, right, that reactant, whatever be the amount, will never become 0. How much ever you give infinite amount of time, right, but this will never become 0. So what do you mean by this? What do I mean by this is that the reaction is not 100% completed. Why? Because if the reaction is 100% completed, whatever is the amount of A present or B present, that should have been converted into B. There should not be any amount of A, there should not be any amount of B after the reaction is completed. That means if I had, say, for example, X grams of this total reactant, I should have formed X grams of product. I mean, given that obviously both are in the exact required amounts, nothing is in excess or nothing is limiting. Okay, so if I had X grams of this, I should have formed X grams of this. Okay, but like what will you see in reality is that I will form some number which say Y grams, which will be lesser than X, in the sense that there'll always be some amount of reactant left, right? And that will be reflected in the amount of product also. You will that means the reaction never goes to 100% completion, right? That means the transformation from reactant to product, right, is not 100% efficient. That's what you have to understand. There will always be some problem. There will always be some amount of reactant left, even after we say that the reaction has been completed. Okay.
Sir, why is that so?
Why is that so? Like you will study in this chapter called as equilibrium, right? Say what happens is for any reaction you take, right? Sometimes what can happen is this product can also form the reactant back. The reverse reaction can happen. The C can form A and B also, right? Say now this tendency, or say the ability of C to go back to A and B will be higher if I form more and more amount of C, is it not? As the reaction proceeds, right? Say initially there was 0. Say it formed 1 gram, 2 gram, 3 gram, 4 gram. It keeps on continuing. Like you see that the amount of C is keeping on increasing. So more and more amount of C is there. More and more is the ability of C to go back to A and B, right? So it's not like say the rate at which reactants form product and the rate at which the product forms back the reactant, it will never be the same. If it is same, once again, if it is same, the reaction won't happen at all. Hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Yes, please ask a question. Yeah, what is that? You wanted to ask something?
For the conditions for A and B to form C would be different than C to form A and B.
Correct. Say now, even if you tell that, say this particular reaction will happen at say 80 degrees Celsius at 2 atmospheric pressure, or we can take even your normal, right? Say if you take Haber's process, hope you all know what is Haber's process. N2 plus 3H2 giving 2 ammonia, right? I use a catalyst here, Fe, and I go for very high temperature, say 600 degrees Celsius, 300 atmospheric pressure. I do all this just because this N2 and H2 together will form an H3, right? But the reaction is not 100% efficient. No, it is not, right? The reaction might be even go to 99.99999%, but it will never be that it will be 100% completed. Due to various reasons. The reasons might be that, say, if at all, like say, if at all, say, I assume that I have 100 grams of these two together, right? Say after some time, I have only say 0.001 gram of together of these left, right? Say what you have to understand is, people, the reactants has to be nearby. They will have to undergo some kind of collision. They have to come together. Only then the reaction will happen. So if I have worry, like as the reaction proceeds, right, the amount keeps on reducing. So the distance between the reactants also keeps on decreasing, right? So they will not be able to meet each other as much when I had 100 grams, when I have, comparatively when I'm going to have only 0.001 grams, right? Now the other reaction, other reason can be that I told you that the reactants, I mean the products can form back the reactants. NH3 can again form N2 and NH3. That again reduces the efficiency. Lot of thermodynamics. You will study more about this. Why a reaction doesn't go to 100% completion. You will study an equilibrium chapter. After that, I'm going to have thermodynamics chapter. All these will get some insights. Why is it like this?
Sir?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, sir.
Sir,
Yeah.
this happens in every reaction also.
Every reaction. All the reactions in the world. If they claim that the reaction is 100% efficient, they are lying to you. Always remember this. Okay, they can go to 99.999 how many ever decimals, but it is not going to be 100% for sure. Okay, fine. So yes, what are we doing here? So till now, right, we are talking about the case that no reaction is 100% complete, no reaction is 100% efficient. But if we have seen all the questions we have solved till now, right? We have assumed all the things you have solved till now. We actually assume 100% completion. Is it not? Any question you take, say for example, this excess, forget about the excess reagent. This limiting reagent you take, we said that for 1 mole, I'm going to get 2 moles, right? That means if I have 0.3 moles, I should be getting 0.6 moles. Assuming the fact that the entire 0.3 moles will get converted into AlNO3, assuming the fact. Right. That means only if the reaction is 100% efficient, this entire 0.3 will give this much amount of 0.6. Right. Say we don't know, say out of this 0.3, only 0.29 are reacting or 0.27 are reacting, or only 0.2 are reacting, that accordingly the number of moles of product will be formed. Right. So, but till now, all the questions we assumed that we actually will get 100% efficiency. Okay, the entire amount of reactant will get converted to the product except for the excess reagent, obviously, because that is by logic. It is already in excess, right? But whatever be the limiting reagent, we assumed that the reaction 100% efficient, and that by that only we calculated whatever be the number of moles of product. Okay, but in the question, I give you all the data, right? Just for the same question, right? I give you the same exact data and I tell you that the reaction is only 80% efficient. I tell you only that the reaction is 80% efficient. Then I ask you what will be the number, what will be the amount of aluminum nitrate, what will be the number of, or what will be the mass of potassium sulfate, what is the mass of these two when I have only 80% efficiency. I can ask you this question, right? So maybe if you do a problem based on this, you will actually get a very clear-cut idea. But for the same question, I'll help you taking this as an example, because now that we already did, right? How we already found out what will be the number of moles of aluminum nitrate and what will be the number of moles of K2SO4. Now we know that it is for 100%. We can easily calculate for the 80% case very easily. How we do is very simple, by the same exact method of cross multiplication, right? How do we do cross multiplication? Let me tell you. For example, you see, if the reaction is 100% completed, I will get 0.5 moles. Right? If the reaction 100% completed, I will get 0.6 moles of aluminum nitrate. I can write that here, right? Say for 100%, I will get 0.6 moles of aluminum sulfate. Right? Now, what does the question say? It says that only 80% is complete. Right? So for 80%, how much? That's it. You just cross multiply, you'll get the X value, and that will be the number of moles of aluminum sulfate if I have only 80% efficiency. Right? So the only difference between normal question and this percentage yield, they call it, they can call it as percentage yield or percentage efficiency, right? All talks about what I'm talking about here. Percentage yield means percentage yields of product. How much percentage of product is yield? If I have 100%, obviously that's not going to happen. How much is the percentage? Right? Or in some questions, they can tell that, see, the question can be like this. Okay, this much amount of KNO3, some amount of aluminum nitrate, okay, these two are the reactants, right? So some amount of this forms some amount of this. They give some value here for this also, right? And then they'll ask you what is the percentage completion, right? So what you have to do, the simple thing is, in this question, for 100%, I know already. I can do the normal stoichiometry and find out, because normal stoichiometry, what we do is by assuming that the reaction 100%. That we'll get by normal method, right? But now, if they're given, now in the previous question, I asked you for 80%, how much you calculated. Other type of question can be, I will give you the information about aluminum sulfate, that this much amount of aluminum sulfate is formed. Then what will be the percentage? That can also be a question, right? And just put the data properly and cross multiply properly. That's it. That's the only kind of thing I have to do, right? So if at all this kind of percentage yield or percentage efficiency kind of questions comes to you, what will you do? You will do exactly same thing what you have been taught, stoichiometry, until this 100% thing, right? Then after you get the values, then you cross multiply. That's the only one extra thing you will do. For 100%, whatever the stoichiometry you did, that values you will put. And for the given asked values, 80% or 70% or whatever it is, find the value by doing the cross multiplication. Okay. Now I'm going to directly give you the problem and you are going to do it. Let me see how many of you will find the answers. Okay, guys, I hope everybody understood. If you didn't understand, please ask me. I'll tell you again how to do the problems. I hope everybody understood. Okay, fine. If not, please do ask me. Okay. So, your question, please take down. Where is the yeah. So I'll give you the reaction directly. The reaction is Fe2O3 plus 3CO gives 2Fe plus 3CO2. Okay, this is the reaction. Right? If you take another reaction, please take this down. 480 grams of Fe2O3, 480 grams of Fe2O3 reacts with excess CO, carbon monoxide, reacts with excess CO to form 252 grams, 252 grams of 252 grams of iron, that is Fe. Okay. The question is, what is the percentage yield of the reaction? What is the percentage yield of the reaction?
Sir, what is the atomic mass of iron?
Iron, 56. Atomic mass of iron is 56. Okay, I'll repeat the question. Right, so the equation is there. The equation you can take. So what they say is 480 grams of Fe2O3 reacts with excess of CO to form 252 grams of iron, 252 grams. What is the percentage yield of the reaction? Okay, right? So in this question, they have directly given you that CH3, CO is going to be excess. That they have directly given, right? So now you have to only worry about this and this, Fe2O3 and Fe. Let me see how many I find out the percentage efficiency.
Sir, is it 75%?
Okay, first you have to do the normal 100% stoichiometry calculations and just include the last step I told you. For 100% this much. So for this much amount, what is the percentage? That's it. I'll give you one more minute. Let me see if someone also gets the answers. Okay, I hope somebody got the answer at the time. 1%, 2.73%. Anybody else has any other answers? Okay, fine. So in the question they have given that how many grams of this? 480 grams, right? 480 grams of Fe2O3 is given in the question, right? And they have already told that this is an excess. We don't have to worry about it, right? Fine. We'll convert the number of moles, right? So that would be 480 divided by molecular mass of Fe2O3. Anybody calculated?
160.
160. Okay, so I think it should be 3 moles then, right? 3 moles of Fe2. Sorry. Oh yeah.
I got
160 into 2. Actually, 3 moles, right? Correct. Right.
So 3 moles only.
3 moles of Fe2O3.
I should have calculated that.
Okay, so 3 moles of Fe2O3. Okay, so now we can do stoichiometry. What is stoichiometry? For 1 mole, I can see this is 1, this is 2, right? Say for 1 mole of Fe2O3, I form 2 moles of Fe. So if I have 3 moles, so this should be
6 moles.
6 moles. Done. This should be 6 moles. Now you can easily convert it into number of mass, right? 6 into the molecular mass or atomic mass of iron, that is 56. So 6 into 56, 336 grams. Right? 56 into 6. 300 plus 36. Yeah, 336. Okay. So 336 grams should have been formed if I had 100% completion. Yes, right? If I had 100%, then this entire 480 gram would have gotten converted into 336 grams of Fe if I have 100%. Right? Now, what they are given in the question, they have given that only 252 grams of iron is formed. So for now, you can write the statement from the 100% statement, you can write, if I have 100%, I have how much? 336 grams of Fe is formed. But how much amount is forming? Only 252 grams, 250 grams of Fe2, Fe is forming. So for that, how much percentage? If you calculate, it would be 252 into 100 divided by 336. I think you will be getting 75% as the answer. Okay, very, very simple question. You did the stoichiometry that you already know. And last extra that you just included this. For 100%, whatever you calculated, right? For the given amount, how much percentage? Or the question also be, for this much percentage, how much will be the amount? Either way it can be asked. Okay,
Sir?
what is the, yeah, please sir.
Sir, so in this question, what is the use of giving excess CO in the question?
If they have to give, say some amount of, say I'll give you some 200 grams of CO also, if they gave you, what you would have done? That would have made the problem more complex. How would have made it more complex? If I know information that both of these are there, first you have to find which is the excess, which is the limiting. Then you can find out what is the number of moles of Fe form, and from that calculate for 100%, and then from calculate for this much percentage. But if they give you directly this is excess, you don't have to worry about which is the limiting or which is the excess reagent. That's why. Yes, understood.
Yes, sir.
That would be more time consuming, sir.
Sorry, that will be more time consuming, obviously. So it's like this problem. If I asked you about the 80% thing also, say look at this 100 grams of this, 200 grams of this. Now you found out what is the limiting and the excess. From the limiting, you calculated what is the product that is for 100%. And then you have to do for 80%, whatever the next calculation we did for the last one. Right? Yeah, obviously it is 10. Okay. What is the time? Okay, we have 5 more minutes. And one more problem. We'll just wind it up today. We'll just take 5 more minutes extra also. One more problem, so that this concept will be over. Right now, the question. Silicon and nitrogen combines together to form Si3N4, right? Silicon and nitrogen combine together to form this compound, Si3N4, silicon nitride. Okay, right. The question is, what mass of silicon must react with excess nitrogen to prepare 140 grams of Si3N4 if the yield of the reaction is 75%. If the yield of the reaction is...
Sir, does silicon exist in diatomic form?
No, monatomic form.
Monatomic,
like
okay.
Yeah, just like carbon. Carbon is just graphite, it is like C. Right? Okay, so I'll repeat the question, people. Right? Silicon and nitrogen combine together to form silicon nitride, that is Si3N4. Now the question is, what mass of silicon must react with excess nitrogen, right, to prepare 140 grams of Si3N4 if the yield of the reaction is 75%. So this is question like ulta of the last question, but similar approach. Last step only will be little different. Right. So guys, first you have to understand what will be the equation, because let me give you the equation here. Remember that silicon will exist in monatomic form as Si, right? And nitrogen, how it will exist?
N2.
N2. If you write N and do this problem, absolutely wrong it will be, because the stoichiometric will be different, right? This is the equation. Now if you balance it, I have 3 and 4. Right? Because it's Si3N4, 3 moles of this and 4 moles of this. So they want to know, this is already given as excess. Right? They want to know what is the mass of silicon required to form this much amount of this, given that the reaction is only 75%.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, so the actual mass of silicon nitride formed is less than 140?
No. What you have to understand is, for 75%, I'm having 140.
Oh, okay, sir.
It's like that. For 100,
it will be more, sir.
Correct. It should be more than it. For 100%, it should be more than this, right?
Sir, already the molecular mass of silicon nitride is 40, sir.
Already the mass of silicon nitrate is
140.
Oh, it's 140 only. Then you can do it. That's then 1 mole. Then.
Yeah. Okay.
Silicon would be 28. 60. 4 plus.
Sir, is it 111 gram, 0.72 grams?
111. Yeah, option is there. 112 something is there.
Yes, sir. 111.72 I'm getting.
Okay, so it should be approximately 112. Maybe correct.
Sir?
Yeah.
Sir, here the mole ratio is 3:4:1, right?
Yeah, mole ratio is 3:4:1.
Sir, is will molecular mass ratio will also be same as mole ratio?
No. It won't be.
Okay.
Sir, how is it 3:4:1, sir? It's
3:2:1, sir.
Oh, sorry. I'm
Yes,
really
sir.
sorry. I already have a 2 here, so I have only 2. Yeah, correct. So 3:2:1. Sorry, yes. If I calculate the number of atoms, yes, it is 3:4:1.
Sir, what was the option given, sir?
Options are 84 grams, 63 grams, 112 grams, or 105 grams. These are all the options. Okay, fine. Maybe I will do it. Right, fine. So guys, whatever the data given to you is for 75%. So first step would be to calculate for 100% how much, and from that only you can calculate the reactant. Please remember this. Okay, or what you have to do is you have to find the number of moles of this, right, and find this, and this is for 75%. For 100% we calculate. There are 2 ways of doing this. Again, I repeat, what are the 2 ways? You can now first itself you can convert 75% to 100% for this, and you can do the stoichiometry. Or you do the stoichiometry, and then this is for 75%. You convert it to 100%. Either way, you will get the same answer. Okay, so either you convert 75 to 100 first and then do the stoichiometry, or you do stoichiometry first and then convert 75 to 100. Either way, you will get the same answer. Okay, fine. Now I will suppose that this can be converted to 100% first, right? So for 75%, I get 140 grams of Si3N4. So for 100%, how much? Right?
Sir, 186.
180. Okay, fine. 186, sir.
186.6, sir.
Okay, 186.6.
186.66.
Okay, 186.66 grams of Si3Ni4 I have. Right? Now this is for 100%. Now you can do stoichiometry. Now what do you have to do? Convert this into number of moles. Right? So the number of moles would be 186.6. I'm sorry, 186.6 divided by 140. Because we know
1.33.
140. See, this 140 and this 140 are not same. This 140 is the molecular mass. In this case, it came out to be same. Okay, fine. So now I whatever be the number of moles. Okay, now you how much is it?
1.33, sir.
1.33 moles. Okay, fine. Right. Now actually the other way would have been very easy. The calculation wise, the other way would have been easy actually. Right. Anyways, we'll do this all that also. Maybe we'll take some more minutes. Don't worry. Okay, so I got 1.33 moles of Si3N4. Okay, now you can do the stoichiometry, right? So now it would be for again talking about silicon and this. So it will be 3 moles of silicon gives 1 mole of Si3N4. So if I have 1.33 moles of this, how much would be there? So 1.33, how can I write? 1.33, I write it as 2 by 3. Right? 1.33, I can write it as 2 by 3. Right, fine. So if I find X, so X would be 2 by 3 into 3, which will be 2. So this will be 2 moles. Guys, approximately. Right, this would be 2 moles. Okay, that means 2 moles of silicon is reacting.
Sir, 1.33 is not 2 by 3, sir. It's 4 by 3.
Okay, 4 by 3. I'm sorry. 4 by 3, and this should be then 4 moles. Right, so 4 moles of silicon is required. Right. 4 moles. Okay, so now I have to calculate the mass. 4 into 28. That is the atomic mass of silicon, right? And that would be 56,112 grams. Directly I can say this. Okay, so the answer to this question is 112 grams. That is the mass of silicon required for 75% completion. Okay, now see, if I just take 1 more minute to just do the other method also, right? That is putting the stoichiometry, doing the stoichiometry, then converting into 75 to 100. So now if I directly use this value, right, now I have 140 grams of this much as what is the silicon nitrate, right? So if I divided this by the molecular mass again, I will be getting 1 mole of silicon nitrate is there. Very simple, right? Now you can do the stoichiometry directly. I just converted this into number of moles and go to stoichiometry, right? What is stoichiometry again? So you can see that 3 moles of Si, I can write it here. 3 moles of Si forms 1 mole of Si3N4. So if I have 1 mole, I require 3 moles. Okay, I require 3 moles. Right? Now for 3 moles, you can calculate what is the mass, right? So it will be 3 into 28. Will
sir,
be the
no,
mass
sir, 1
of
by
silicon.
3.
I have 1 mole of silicon nitrate. If I have 3 moles of silicon, I form 1 mole of silicon nitrate. I have 1 mole of silicon nitrate, right? 140 is there. That means I will have 3 moles of silicon formed.
Oh yeah, sir. Sorry, sir.
Okay, so this 3 into 28 will be the mass of silicon, but that is not the answer, guys. That is for 75%, right? So basically 3 into 28 would be 60. 60 plus 24 would be 84. That means for 75%, I require 84 grams. Sorry, 84 grams of silicon. So for 100%, what would have been the answer? That would have been the final answer, right? And I think it would be, the answer would be 112 grams. You will easily again get 112 grams as the answer. Okay, so we did enough number of problems for this percentage efficiency. Nothing extra we did, nothing extra. We just did everything for 100% and then converted it into the required percentage. That's it. But you have to remember how to do stoichiometry. That we solve so many questions. Yes, ma'am, tell me.
So why shouldn't we calculate it for 75%, sir?
Why shouldn't we calculate for 75%? We
The
calculate
ground
75%.
mass of silicon, sir.
See, if okay, so the if the answer is 84 grams, if your answer is 84 grams, okay, but that depends on the question. Actually, the answer would.
Sir, in this question, they only asked about the yield in 75%.
If the yield is 75%, correct, actually. But if the yield is 75%, then I found 140 grams. It should have been higher than this. And the same, see, please understand this. We'll look at it logically. Okay. For 75%, I'm forming 140 grams of Si3N4. Okay. Now, if I directly calculate what will be the mass, right? Now that mass is 70, or how would I put it? The 75% of that mass will only be converting into this much. That will not be 140. Please understand. How do
yes,
right? If I have some mass, say for this 140, you calculate what is the mass here without anything, right? Without nothing, without 100% nothing. Now that will not actually give 140. Oh, that should actually give 140, right? But again, that will happen only if I have 100%. Hope you understand.
Okay, so first we have to calculate how much is the total mass of Si, and 70% yield means the whole reaction, it will be 75%.
Correct, exactly.
So it will be less number for the product, in the product.
Correct, it will be lesser number than product. Correct. Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Right? So we have to do like this only. Whatever, like if they ask you for 75%, that means 140 grams is for 75%. The answer is not for 75%. You have to calculate for 100% only. Only then, say I have this 100%, 112 grams, you calculate the number of moles. Now that many moles will give that many number of moles, the required number of moles of silicon nitrate, that is for 100%. Then you do 75%. Then you will get whatever the given mass, that is 140 you will get. It's like just the exactly reverse of whatever we are doing, if you can understand. Okay.
Understood, sir.
Right? Okay. Any other questions, guys? From this question, any other thing you want to know?
Sir, I didn't understand what you told me.
One second, hold on. So, yes, what was the doubt? You didn't understand the thing which I said now?
Yes, sir.
75 and 100. Okay.
Yes,
so what I was trying to say is, say if this 75 is not given to you and we were asked to find the 75, how would I find the 75? Or they should have given this particular mass value, right? The silicon's mass, say this 112 grams should have been given to us, right? This 112 grams should have been given to us. Now what would have done? You would have converted this 112 grams into number of moles, and then you would have done the stoichiometry. And for stoichiometry, you would have got it for 100%. That value would have been definitely higher than 140. Yes. And 75% of that, whatever value you got, will be 140. Yes?
Yes, sir.
Right? So if the ulta we are doing, the value they have given us is for 75%. Now, what should have been the previous step? The previous step would have been, I would have got the value for 100% from the, if I did ulta.
Yes, sir.
You understand? Right? And then we did the calculation. That is what is correct. That's why we are doing it. Okay. Right. Any other doubts from anybody? Okay, I suppose everything is clear, right? Okay, I think I took some extra time. I'm really sorry, right? Yeah, you can leave now. Thank you so much. We'll meet tomorrow again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please tell me.
Sir, like I joined the class late, but then it has marked me absent. So what is about that?
I didn't mark you absent. I don't take attendance. You should actually what is the guy's name? I think Bhaskar. Do you know Bhaskar?
No, sir, but then I just text him on WhatsApp.
You will text him on WhatsApp. Like, see, from whatever the WhatsApp number you are getting the messages and stuff, no? So that WhatsApp number you text saying that I joined late, but you mark me absent. They'll take care of it.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.